When I was a little girl growing up in China, this is what I thought a scientist looked like. That's my mom. When I was born, she was still a student studying meteorology, and she eventually went on to pursue her PhD at the University of Maryland, and she's currently a professor of geosciences at the George Mason University. People say we look a lot alike, and yeah, there's definitely some truth in that. So let's fast forward a couple years, and I'm an awkward, pimply American teenager going to high school. I had many diverse interests, as most teenagers do. I liked art, and I liked science. I was doing a lot of science in school, so I wanted to do more art. I wanted to take photos. Well, this was kind of before we all had these 10-megapixel smartphone cameras in our back pockets, and I didn't have a fancy DSLR or anything. My parents got me this advanced compact camera for Christmas, and that was good enough for me. So like a scientist, I started experimenting with lighting, color, angle, perspective, aperture, shutter speed, and also materials like glitter and seltzer water. Basically, I just like making a mess. So after a while, I developed a few types of shots that required fairly in-depth setups. So, like a scientist, I documented them in a way that both allowed others to recreate my work and also so that I can more easily modify them for future use. For each type of shot, I would write down the set of materials and methods with step-by-step instructions on how to recreate that shot with photo examples as results. And this became a kind of scientific notebook of sorts, but for taking photos. And eventually, I decided to put all these photo protocols online in a free ebook called Teach Yourself Photography: Lessons from a Self-Taught Photographer. Okay, so now let's fast forward a few more years. And I'm graduating high school and deciding on where to go to college. I decide to come here, to Johns Hopkins, to study biomedical engineering and applied math. Not to an art school, and not to study art. My friends said, oh, it's such a shame that you're not pursuing art anymore. And at the same time, my parents were really glad that I wasn't going to become a starving artist. So, just a friendly reminder they can never please everyone. So I came here to study science, and I did research in the Karchin lab in Hackerman down the breezeway over there, which allowed me to win a peer award and present my work at international conferences, and later also win an NSF grant. But I didn't give up on art entirely either while I was here. I headed Thoroughfare magazine while I was here on campus, and I worked with licensing representatives to publish my photos on over dozens of book covers. At times, I really worried that art was a distraction, that I should really be studying more for that Orgo exam, or double-checking that DiffEQ homework one last time. But over time, I've come to accept that it's okay to be focused without being tunnel-visioned. And currently, I'm a third-year PhD student in bioinformatics at Harvard, and I'm still focused on science. But I do art too, and I do my best to integrate my art into my science. Contrary to what my parents may have feared, contrary to what I at times really feared, the skills that I developed doing art did not go to waste. And contrary to what my friends may have believed, contrary to what I at times really believed, the time that I had spent doing art was not wasted. Because it was through art that I learned how to use Photoshop and Illustrator to create beautiful illustrations, a skill that I still use, but now to make illustrations and diagrams for my bioinformatics software. And it was through art that I learned how to make a website, how to use rights managed licensing, how to brand, promote, and advertise my work. All skills that I still use, but now instead of photos, it's bioinformatics software. And I recently published my first author paper in Nature Methods. Okay, so now let's rewind for a few minutes. I'm a third year at Harvard now, but 3 years ago when I first got there, I was the only girl in my program at the time. And so just so that I could see more women and girls in my life, I decided to get involved in student organizations such as the Harvard Graduate Women in Science and Engineering Student Group, serving as their co-chair. And I also volunteered to teach second graders at local after-school programs such as Science Club for Girls and the Innovation Institute. One thing that I noticed from teaching my second graders was that a lot of them didn't see themselves grown up as scientists or mathematicians or really in STEM careers. You know, they would say things to me like, "But Miss Jean, I'm not a math person." And I would kind of just think to myself, you're in second grade. Now, you haven't even gotten to the cool math stuff like stochastic processes or Bayesian hierarchical models. How do you know you're not a math person? So, but yeah, what could I do? I'm not a parent. I don't know the first thing there is to motivating kids or raising them or how to encourage them in STEM. I'm not a lot of things. But I am an artist, and I am a scientist, and I am a girl in STEM. What worked for me was being able to see myself grown up as a scientist in my mom. So why don't we try to help other little girls see themselves grown up as scientists, too? So I co-wrote and illustrated a children's storybook highlighting various STEM careers and how they impact the world, and created a website at customize.org that allows parents to personalize this book using their daughter's name and appearance, and then download that ebook for free so now their kids can read the story about themselves grown up in any of these cool STEM careers. Over 3,000 parents have already made personalized storybooks for their kids using Customized. So I think when trying to address an issue like the underrepresentation of women in STEM, it was really my artistic and scientific skills combined that allowed me to start contributing potential solutions. And as I look around this room, this is not a room full of scientists versus artists. This is a room full of scientists who are also artists, dancers who are also chemists, physicists who are also musicians, and photographers who are also programmers. So, wherever you go, whatever you choose to do in this life, I really hope that you will use your unique set of skills, whatever they may be. I really hope that you will mobilize all your intellectual resources. And I hope you will reach across that disciplinary divide to do art like a science and do science like an art, to create the change that you would like to see and to create something you can be proud to call your creation. Thank you.